I want to talk about the loop.
Mellow subject.
No, you don't watch videos, right? So you didn't go back and see these crazy slams that people were taking, or did you?
I specifically made a point to not look at all the slams.
But you've heard the stories.
Yeah, I mean, when you hear about the loop, you hear about the slams.
Yeah.
Like, you don't hear about, like, oh, this person made it. It's like, oh, you know the loop? Did you see that slam?
Yeah, that person got fucked up.
Brian Shaver.
Oof. There's been a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody on YouTube even made a compilation of slams on the loop.
It's terrible. Like, the loop is so different because the risk factor is so high.
Sure.
There's not really... You just kind of have to,
it's either
go.
There's no practicing
And don't
for it.
pump.
You guys found out. You guys don't pump.
That's what it is, right?
Honestly,
That's what Sean was saying.
I think street skaters would be better suited for doing the loop, even though it's like a transition thing.
Because they're not accustomed to...
With transition, you're constantly trying to pump up the wall. And
Yeah, like...
So it's just natural for you to automatically want to push through it.
Also, like, just the way, like, street skaters, like, they'll go and... Like, most transition skateboarders, like, they go to a park or... Like, even going to skate backyard pools, there's kind of a way you, like, work up into it and you get stuck in that. But it's, like, so different from everything else. You kind of just have to, like, learn a new thing.
Right.
And it's almost like, you know, you go to a spot, no one's hit it. Like, you just have to, like, do it.
Did Tony just say, hey, you should try the loop? Or, I mean, we're going to set this up. Do you want to come? Or what was the conversation to get you going to try it?
He'd brought it up in the past, like, hey, Lizzie, would you want to do the loop? And I was kind of like,
Hadn't thought about it.
that is not something that, like, do you want to do the loop? Like, that's not something that I'm like, I want to get food.
Like it never crossed your mind at all.
No.
Yeah.
And when he did, I was basically like, I'm down to, like, look at it if it's up, but I'm not going to commit to saying, like, oh yeah, I want to do it. And he was kind of like, oh, well, you know, the people that do it, like, they know. And I'm like, I don't know.
So was that scary for you then? If they made it for you? Was that...
The thing is, they had this event going. There was, like, a live stream and there was announcing, there was a crowd, there was multiple people. It was crazy.
Which adds more pressure to it.
Yeah, and pretty much, like, they set it up the day before for practice, and then the next day they had the event. Mm-hmm. And during the event, it was, like, so fast, and there was so much going on that it was the worst situation you could be in for trying to learn something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of need to be in the zone and, like, focused. And there was everything in there everything that was going on during that show was, like,
Too much.
make you go everywhere. Like...
Yeah.
There was no way to really focus.
So the day before they had the practice, so you got to try the loop. Now, the first time, were you just standing up there? Were you watching other people and then just being like, okay, you know what? This feel like the...
They were setting it up and I was like, it's so much bigger and
huge,
crazy in real life. And seeing it firsthand it's unreal. And I made a point of saying, like, don't have an opinion on it. Because I want to, like, get familiar with this thing before...
You want to get
like, I have to at least go try it once before I can be like, I don't like that.
You want to get to know it first.
Yeah. And it's a really daunting thing to do. Because they just set it up in the parking lot, and it's just, like, by itself, and it's tall, and it doesn't make sense.
There's no people sessioning that thing at all.
You don't session it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, did you see anyone do it before you did it?
Yeah. Is Tony jumping up and being like, okay, here's how you do it, guys.
No. He was giving advice, but before I did it, or so during the show, like, some people were, like, going, and then, you know, someone was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to do it. And so at that point, everyone who felt like they were going to do it, it was like, you know, once they start taking out the pads, that's it. There's no... You can't put the pads back in for, like, the next person.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
So pretty much it was Jeremy Green. He's like, I'm ready. And he, like, sped up, like, Sean Hale and Riley and Charlie Blair. They're all just like, oh, okay. Like, you're ready. I guess we have to be ready, too.
Wow.
And...
Were you ready?
Well, I was in the line where I was just like... I was still not sticking to the wall, so I was like, okay, I don't got it. Like, there's no... Unless I figure out the technique, right now I'm just kind of like jumping, going down the ramp and going into a foam pit.
Yeah.
And that in itself, like the first time I did that, that was so scary because there's nothing like going straight, like you just have to follow the line, which is so simple, but goes against everything skateboarding has ever taught you before.
Sure.
Like usually you go up and you find your exit.
Yeah.
Or like you go up and you go back down. And this one you're just waiting for your exit.
So when you had the pads there, did you figure it out during the pads what you needed to do?
Yeah, so later. So they're doing this live event and Charlie Blair did it, but Jeremy Green was the first person to do it. And right before he did it, he went all the way up and around and then went back into the entrance. And he like smashed his face and cracked his teeth.
No.
And like he was like bleeding, and then like I'm over there behind, like in line for the thing still, and he's just like, "Oh, I smashed my teeth. Look!" And I'm like, "Please, don't show me that right now. Like I'm trying to be serious, and you're showing me your bloody face." And
oh my God.
Pretty much when I was there, I would only listen to the people who really like had the technique, and in my head I was like, "That's the only way. Like that's the only outcome." Like you just figure that out and then that's what you do.
Sounds to me like you really had to be focused. Like you really had to like pay attention to what you were doing. Like no half-assing it.
Yeah, and I was only really paying attention to the people there that like had like good energy. Like I was pretty much like I was hanging out with Sean and Aaron, and like I'm really close with them, and like in my head that's all who was existing.
Okay.
And then like, you know, Jeremy would try to butt in and be like, "Look at my teeth," and I was just like, "You're not here."
Blocking them out.
Like please don't show me that.
So there was no...
To get back to your thing, the loop is something where it kind of goes against everything you've learned about skateboarding, and it's kind of like your first drop-in. Like at that point you've never done anything where you have to like really commit like that. And, you know, you lean forward, but not too far forward. And you have to, like, lean back, but not too far back. And people can tell you that, but until you do it, you don't know what that means. And the loop is literally the same advice. It's like, don't pump. And, like, you lean forward, but not too far forward. And you lean back, but not too far back. And follow the line.
Yeah, when Sean Hale was here, he was saying the same thing. He was telling you, like, don't pump, don't pump. And then finally you did one, and you came back up, and you were like... don't pump. And he was like, I told you.
It's like I said, until you do it, you don't know what that means.
Right.
I was just going to say, what does that feel like then when you don't pump? Do you just like ride straight up and just let it go?
You just lock your legs. Like imagine you're like an army figure, you know, the plastic ones.
Yeah.
Like
G.I. Joe?
Yeah, they're not, there's no
Army
pump
men.
in that. You just, like you think about the Hot Wheels loop, there's no suspension on the cars.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the same thing. But it's weird to make yourself do that because, you know, normally you go up transition and you can do a little pump and it doesn't hurt, but there it will hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when they took you know, you're doing the loop, you're crashing into the crash pads, right? When they take that away, now that probably is a whole different mind. Now you're like, okay, there's no safety net.
No, because it wasn't until I stuck to the wall when it was like, okay, like you have a shot at this now. Are you going to do it? So at that point was when I was like, this is real and I have to make the decision now. Otherwise I need to stop because there at some point it's going to get to that point where they take out the pads and you can't.
You can't not be ready.
Yeah, you have to commit before that.
Yeah.
So in my mind.
So the first time you stuck, you were like, okay, now I get it. You could take away those pads.
Yeah, or not right away, but it was like, okay, am I going to do this? I'm going to do this, or I'm going to slam really hard. I'm okay with that. Let's keep going.
Okay. The first time, even with the pads.
But you can get wrecked with the pads.
I know, but I'm
like there's videos of people like
terrifying.
looping out with the pads, and it's not fun with all that momentum going into the pads. Like every time, like you go into them, it's softer than the concrete, but you have all that momentum and you just stop.
Yeah. Well, we were watching Felipe Nunez, right? By the way, congratulations. Great addition to Birdhouse. Guy rips.
Yeah.
It's insane. But when he was doing he would be doing the loop and then crash pad just abruptly stopping.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a little,
that
jarring.
wears you.
Jarring, yeah.
Like you have to make it through the whole day after all those like stops.
Sure.
And it works your body because you get like twisted and weird, and then sometimes your board's like coming like in after you to like spear you. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
There was a photo I saw of you. It was like you're at the peak. You're just upside down and completely off your board, like just about to go down. I don't know what happened. I just saw the photo, but I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah. So that was the first time I went around the loop without the pads.
That was without?
I just buckled. And I don't know, like every time. Okay, so pretty much when it got to the point where they're taking out the pads, I was just like up on the top of the roll-in with Aaron, and it was like same as before. And I was like pretty much just went, and then something happened and I like fully bailed, and I went all the way around, and then I bailed just before the top, and then I made it all the way to like here. And I just knee slid out of that somehow, and it wasn't easy. Like it wasn't like a mellow fall, but it was so mellow in comparison to what it could have been.
Yeah.
And then the next time I just was like, went back up to the roll and was like, same as before. And then just went, and I was really close. Like, I think that was the one where it's like, I made it out, and then I fell like right after. And I was like, everyone ran up to me like, you did it. Cause I went around the loop and then I fell.
Okay.
I just didn't like have the roll away. And so I was like, kinda, did that count?
No. What was it? Did you zing out or just fall off your board?
So I made it all the way around, and then like, I like leaned back or something on flat.
Oh, okay.
Like
Gotcha.
just like maybe like 3 or 4 feet after.
I see.
And I was like, did I do it? And then they're like, oh, do you want to do it again? I'm like, yeah, like I need to do it for real.
Yeah,
Like
you
I didn't
roll
do
with
it. I didn't roll away. Yeah.
The whole point of doing it is like the whole clip's like you have
You're just like,
everything.
you're like, yeah, that was good enough for me.
Yeah.
Like,
You want the clip of like Tony chasing after you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you want to do it for like if you're that invested in something like that, you do it for real.
you've already taken your time, and you were invested.
Yeah. And pretty much went back up there, and it took me like it was 5 or 6 tries before I did it.
Without
and
the
like
pads.
just like made it all the way through. So like no pads and just going.
Okay. Lizzie.
How did that feel when you rode away?
I know.
It was crazy because it was just like I was so deep in tunnel vision that like in my head I was just like do the thing, and I was so focused, and then I'm like halfway across the parking lot, I'm like, oh, I did
blacked
it.
out.
Like you like you almost blacked out.
Yeah, but it was like I was so focused
Surreal.
because I tuned every like in my head I was like, this is it. Like I'm so focused, and like you can't really let anything get in between that, because the second you go down the top of the roll-in, you're committed to getting out.
Right.
Because you can't really stop before you hit the roll-in, because that's how you get ruined.
Yeah.
And like even for practicing with the pads, like that's a big commitment. Like it's easy to go in the roll and be like, oh, not this one, I want to bail.
Oh my God,
but
the
there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
That's
The first drop in must be terrifying.
what-
Shane Hale said that you're the reason why. I'm sorry, Sean. You're the reason why he didn't do the loop. You took him on a massive bike ride up a hill, and his legs were done.
He can claim that. I mean, okay, so Aaron and him stayed at my house, and yeah, we biked around Oceanside, and then at the end of the bike ride, there's this hill. It's like you could walk up it in like 5 minutes.
Oh, that's it.
Pretty much him and Aaron went ham on it, and like I walked the bike. I was like, I'm good, and then right after we like went to Tony's.
Right. That's what he said. No, he didn't say it was your fault, but I just thought it was funny that you guys took him on a.
Probably like it took his legs a bit, but no one forced him to go up the hill. Like I walked up the hill.
No, he said he looked behind him and everybody was gone, and then
Everyone's walking?
Yeah, everybody walked up.
Because there's no point. Like it's not. It doesn't make sense to do that to yourself, especially if you're going to go skate later.
Having done the loop now, if they set the loop back up, would you go do it again?
Not if there wasn't like a reason to do it.
Oh, just
like,
for fun.
I wouldn't do it for fun. The risk factor's too high.
Even though you know now what to do. Like you've done it once, you know.
It's
like-
not something you
master it?
session for fun. It's like
Bob Burnquist does. Seems like he does.
Yeah, but
going to get coffee.
Yeah, but he was like just doing it switch. He was there was
Bob may be the exception to the rule.
Yeah, doing new things with the loop. But I understand what you're saying. Just to do that for no reason, you can, even if you know what you're doing, you could still get messed up.
it's like if you imagine like whatever your ultimate trick is, it's like now go do that again for fun.
Sure.
Like I mean there's a point to doing it, but then if it's like a giant gap or like imagine if you're like jumping down stuff, your legs only have so many goes.
Even a tech trick too, you work on these tricks for 6 hours, you do it for a video, you're never going to do that trick again.
It's not like your warm-up trick. It's not like saying you just, there's tricks that are not contest tricks.
I do a lot of 360 flips. My favorite trick, broke my ankle on a 360 flip. Happens. You know?
Yeah.
So, but the loop is
double loop.
Yeah.
They do a double loop.
Oh my God.
Roller coaster.
It's like corkscrew.
Do they do that? Have they done it where they go 1 and then 2? Like build 2 right back to back?
They haven't.
I don't know.
Corkscrew. It's a new thing, Lizzie. Corkscrews.
I'm not trying to prove anything
You're not going
to anybody.
no corkscrews.
I'm just,
What about the loop that like Evan Mock does?
that thing looks cool. It's funny. After I did the loop, Axel wasn't home, so like he's just like, be safe. He like was on a trip in Hawaii, and I think he did the loop there.
That one, the same one. Wow.
And it was like really funny because
the
like,
little, the smaller one, the concrete one. Yeah.
But I think he could do the loop. Like he was down.
How many people have done the loop? It's like a handful, right? 20 something people.
It's like about 2 dozen.
2 dozen.
Which is not a lot. Like it's been around for a second. I know it's hard to get to. Like you have to have an in, but
that's some good company to be in.
Maybe you guys could do tandem, like same time.
No, I'm good.
It's a new King of the Road challenge. Handcuffed.
Handcuffs.
I want to talk about the loop. Congratulations. That's amazing. I would not even attempt that. Roger said he would try it.
I'd try it.
But, you know.
With the pads, you said.
Well, yeah,
Well,
of
you
course.
have to put the pads on first. Yeah, I ain't gonna go straight to it.
Dude, that's so scary.
Yeah, me and Kelly would be spectating.
Yeah.
But I want to
It's
talk.
just a launch ramp, into pads at first.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, like they have the same stuff at Woodward pretty much. Like launching into the flybucks is probably just as, you can get just as wrecked on that with all the pads.
Something about just dropping in and looking at a wall that you're supposed to go up is kind of terrifying.
You're talking to 2 dudes that skate manual pads.
I know.
Like
Seriously.
that stuff is not like our language.
Yeah, I ride 50 millimeter wheels.
I guess growing up skating like bowls and stuff, there's cradles and it's not anything like the loop, but going upside down, it's not weird. Like I like doing inverts and stuff like that.
Sure.
So
Right.
that part, it's not weird. Like
I know. I'm trying to remember the last time
honestly,
I was
the
upside down.
loop, sometimes it like the way it feels,
upside down.
the way it feels like skating the loop, sometimes it feels like a weird bowl corner.
I get for sure. I haven't even done a handstand lately. I don't even know.